There is a Japanese artist who a lot of people were suspecting their work to have some generative AI usage in it. The artist came around with a multi-step speed paint, so let's delve into the situation to see whether they're being falsely accused or legitimately tracing over generative AI. And again, before we get started, please don't send hate to any parties involved. So this is the artist in question, ENU_illustip, where basically they're an illustrator and they do a lot of art in this anime style. So let's delve a little bit into the artwork first before we uncover the rest of the post. So this is an art piece they did, and it is a cover, and we have a character with like a jellyfish cut and dark green hair. Also note they like drawing characters with glasses because this will become something that we'll talk about in the future. They have the hair kind of like looping around and then looping back in on itself. This could be due to the wind. This also is something you tend to see AI do with hair, where it will have hair with both one start point and one end point, whereas typically hair is only attached to your head in one spot. The hand pose is also a little bit interesting because on one hand, they have one hand kind of curled like this. The other hand, they have, I guess, all fingers curled down except two. So, I mean, this is definitely like a possible hand pose. It's just kind of interesting because in most art pieces they draw the character with like all fingers visible. So if they have two fingers touching, it will kind of be like this or like this. This is the only one where we see only two fingers of the other hand. Again, this could be artist choice, right? I just want to add that if you see like a couple things where you're like, this has me scratching my head a little bit, it could just be an artist's artistic choice because at the end of the day, generative AI work is trained off of human art. So humans can make these mistakes as well. One thing I'm curious about though is also what is all the stuff between the fingers? Because like this is a character with this like dark green hair and there's a little bit of side bang visible here, but I don't think this part is the side bang that's visible between the fingers, and they're standing on a beach. So maybe they just kind of like forgot to cut it out, or maybe it's part of the hair, but I'm just kind of curious about that. Next up, we have a character called Rui-chan. She's blonde, kind of resting her head on her hands and looking longingly off in the distance. One thing that is interesting about the hair in this character is that there is like a noodle strand of hair draped over the shoulder. So she's got long straight hair and a part of it is kind of braided back. And there's some hair draping towards like over the shoulder to the front of the body, and there's some hair draping behind the shoulder to the back of the body. And there is just like this one chunk of hair that goes from like the draping part in the front over the shoulder into the draping part in the back. So it's like this chunk of hair has no like start or end point connecting to the actual head, and that it's just like a noodle draped over the shoulder. Do you see that? Like this chunk here. So this is the big one. Like other elements like, oh, you know, like the uncolored part between the fingers, whatever, that could be human error. Maybe they forgot. But then you start asking the question, would a human draw this? Like, would a human draw like a noodle draping over the shoulder rather than connecting the hair to the head? I feel like the answer is no. But that is something generative AI would do. Here, this character is wearing a boot, and the boot has only one shoelace. Like there's two loops, but there's only one actual tail for the shoelace, even though there's supposed to be two. Again, you can maybe make the argument, oh, this is like human error and they forgot. It was just possible, right? It's also something you'll see generative AI do where they'll get the laces wrong often. This one to me is quite confusing. There was an original version that was in color. This is the black and white version, but this is a character that is wearing glasses again because this person likes drawing glasses. They are pinching their fingers almost as if they're trying to hold their glasses on their face, except they missed and they're holding a chunk of hair above their glasses. So potentially it's artist's choice as to why this happened. I don't know why they wouldn't just hold their glasses frame though. And that is something that makes me ask the question, like, would a human draw this? Would a human, instead of making her hold the glasses, pinch a chunk of hair on top of the glasses? And that's, I feel like, something that people wouldn't. But maybe, right? But one thing you also can see, and this possibly could be a tangent, is we have a chunk of bang kind of like looping behind the glasses. You see this chunk of bang connects. Possibly it's a tangent, which is definitely possible. Here again, we have another character who's wearing sneakers with shoelaces, except the bow is missing on the other shoe. This shoe only has one bow and one long tail. There's like one shorter tail hidden behind it. But where's the other one? This one to me is pretty damning. We have a blonde character with pigtails on. Look at the pigtails. Because if I slide this over, look at this pigtail. She's got like a huge chunk of hair draping over the arm. Like if I zoom out, you can see the right pigtail kind of ends like in the middle of her chest up here. And this other pigtail, look at the length of the hair, ends at mid-waist, which would mean her hair is cut in two different lengths with one pigtail, 8 inches shorter than the other pigtail. But on top of that, again, beyond that, the way it's drawn is so weird. It literally is, again, a clump of hair draped over the shoulder, like that first character I showed you with the noodle strand of hair going over the shoulder, where it doesn't attach to the head. And in fact, it's actually going like into the armpit, which is really odd. So that's why when you ask the question, would a human draw this? Would a human draw a chunk of hair draped over her arm? I really think the answer is going to be no. Here's another one with really obvious hair looping. We have another girl with two really short pigtails, and on the right side, she has like a strand of hair coming out from her side bangs, or multiple chunks of hair actually, and they just connect into the pigtail and continue looping into the pigtail. It's also not like a character design thing because it's not present on the other side. This to me is just giving generative AI, because I don't think a human would draw it like that. They would draw the side bangs separate from the pigtails. And again, it's not a character design thing. This is a character from Idolmaster. This is how her hair normally looks like. So they drew her with like her hair and pigtails. So it's an artist's choice to give the pigtails, but that strand of hair melting into the pigtail is not part of it. This character, again, we have more inconsistencies. She's got two pigtails, and this is artist choice as well. This character normally doesn't have pigtails, but one pigtail is drawn very differently from the other pigtail. Like this pigtail is high up. So instead of a hair tie around the pigtail, the artist drew it in a way where it looks like the hair was braided around the pigtail, and it's just not the same on the other side. I'm not saying it has to be symmetrical, but again, like asymmetry is typically done with intention, and this doesn't look like they intentionally made one side asymmetrical, but rather like that it was possibly a mistake by generative AI or something else. Same thing, she has this like white halter neck top on with a scallop neck, and then it just ends here, and then it kind of folds out. Again, would a human do that? For somebody who can draw supposedly at this level, I'm sure you can make a scallop edge go all the way around. Also, here is the same character on the magazine, but this is like a different art piece of her. Once again, holding the glasses weird. If we zoom in, this character is wearing glasses, right? They're not holding the glasses correctly. They missed the glasses again. By the way, this is another art piece from this person. They know how to draw somebody holding glasses. She is holding the glasses leg between her fingers. This character is holding not the glasses leg above the fingers. They're holding above it. Like if you were to hold your glasses leg, it would look like you're holding it like this, right? You would be holding it between two fingers. Not like that. That's very uncomfortable to hold something thin. Again, for somebody who supposedly can draw at this level, who has shown us they know how to draw somebody to holding glasses, how did they mess it up twice? Also, this character is also weird, by the way, because this character is wearing a black tank top with double straps on each side. So each side has two very thin straps. One side, they're separated by about half an inch. The other side, the two straps are actually together, fused together, and they split in a Y midway through. I'm not saying asymmetry means that something is generated by AI, but it's when the asymmetry has no intention behind it, where it looked like it was trying to draw two of the same thing, but they ended up making them look slightly different. Like a human would know how to make, you know, both sides look like a double strap. Also, besides like the looping hair, we have hair coming down and then kind of like looping again. But if we think about the anatomy of the pant skirt situation that's happening, it becomes even more confusing. So this character looks like she's wearing a skirt, if I had to guess, but I have a really hard time figuring out what is happening here. Because like, if you look at this, the character's left leg, right? There is skirt fabric. The skirt, it kind of looks like a pencil skirt up to the mid-thigh. And then there's this long sheer material with a thick black border around it. So the sheer material, which is more skirt fabric, it drapes up and over the thigh, you know, what skirt behavior would. And then what happens? Surely it should fall and then drape over the other leg, right? But no, because if we look at her left leg is fully enclosed in fabric. Sorry for my crappy MS Paint drawing, but like this would literally only be possible if for some reason, somehow, one leg was a pant leg and the other half was a skirt. Like there's literally no other way you could get a situation where the fabric is fully enclosed around one leg, but only halfway enclosed around the other leg. So I'm just really confused on how the clothing is supposed to work. So again, that brings the question, would a human draw this? Potentially, you're drawing somebody holding the glasses and you mess it up and you get the fingers up a little high. Possibly, right? Maybe. Would a human draw one person wearing one pant leg and one skirt? I, again, do not think so. Next up, another art piece. Look at the shoes. The shoes are different, but somehow the same. One foot, as you can see, for the heel, there's a little bit of a platform heel on this shoe, right? This one, at the front of the foot, there is a wedge, and then it slopes gradually downwards until it becomes a heel. For the other shoe, there is a wedge, and then it's a rapid 90-degree drop-off into the heel. These two are not the same shoes, even though they're literally right next to each other. So how did you fuck that up? Next up, these are two different shoes. One is significantly taller than the other shoe. This one to me is quite egregious because what the fuck is happening with these fingers on the other hand? I'm sorry. This is something. Again, I'm not trying to make fun of people with bad anatomy. My anatomy is bad, okay? Like, art is hard and anatomy is hard. But looking at this art piece is advertised by somebody who apparently has a high level of art skill. This level of rendering and this level of composition for everything else minus the hands is spot on for the most part. So why are the hands so fucked up? When you improve as an artist, you typically, everything improves together. Your anatomy skills, your rendering skills, your line work skills, they typically all come up together. And again, you'll be better at some things than others. So you might have like better line art, but your like anatomy might be a little bit more off, or you might have like better anatomy, but your rendering's a little worse. That's fine. But this is like astronomically, like the bones have to be broken to get the fingers into this position. And if we look a little closer, she doesn't have a thumb. On this hand, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. Look at this finger. This is also a finger, not a thumb. Because a thumb, as you can see with my hand, a thumb starts way lower than where your fingers are. But the knuckle for the thumb is all the way up here in line with the index finger, as if she's like holding, you know, the cup kind of like between her fingers like this, and there's like extra fingers here. So where do we get 5 fingers plus a missing thumb? Like, you clearly, apparently, judging by the other pieces, know how to draw thumbs. So what happened here? And this one is actually their profile photo, which she's wearing a moto jacket on one side and a shirt on the other, which is like fine, artistic choice. Where's the rest of the clothes? Where is the rest of the shirt? It should hang down. Where's the rest of the moto jacket? It should also hang down. The way it's drawn, it looks like the moto jacket was cut in half, the shirt was cut in half, and somewhere in the back they were stitched together. I mean, maybe artistic choice, but that's just a choice. Also, not to mention, again, a little bit nitpicky, but like the shadows are really weird because we have a shadow cast on the back of the head here. The light is hitting really hard from the left. So the shadow, this shadow kind of makes sense from where it's positioned. So what is casting this shadow up here? I mean, just curious. So anyways, on August 10th, the artist drops this statement. So this is in Japanese. And I'm using Google Translate to translate it because I don't read Japanese, so just note that some things can be lost in translation. But they essentially say that they don't use Gen AI or any AI tools in their works, and this is for everything, including ongoing projects, fan-funded advertisements, and they have temporarily removed past illustrations as a protective measure. But they plan on uploading them all to Pixiv in the future. This to me is always a bit of a red flag when people are like, I never used AI, but then suddenly take everything down. Again, right? There are people who do that because maybe they're afraid of being attacked for something they didn't do. But also a lot of times people who are being called out for things they actually did, they go and hide the evidence because yeah. So then they write another long post in Japanese. The Google Translate says that they want to post a time-lapse video down the line and that they're feeling really bad and disheartened. So then they post this, a time-lapse where they only draw up to the rough colored sketch. So here we can see some of their art process, which also, one thing I want to add is that this person does not post any work in progresses. Again, as an artist, you're entitled to draw and post whatever you want, but that is something that tends to make people suspicious. If you already have elements of your work that kind of hint to Gen AI usage, like, you know, hair noodles draping across arms, and you started posting a lot of art after generative AI became popular, so post like 2022, and you don't post any work in progresses, people get suspicious. And a commenter says, there are a ton of your art with 6 fingers or paint that's obviously off or clearly AI generated. And isn't this one an original idea from AI too? So then slowly they started uploading more art. So then they like drew it to the rough sketch phase, then uploaded that. Then they drew to the color fill stage and then they uploaded that. And then they posted the full speed paint where they have a noise filter on top of it. So as we can see, this is their full speed paint. They do a bit of like blocking with the body and then grayscale to drop the shadows before they kind of paint over it with some color. And then they go into the line work for their piece. After that, they go and apply the flat colors and then they go and render the piece out. So this is the final piece and what it looks like, which, okay, I just want to add one thing that I'm really curious about. What the hell is she wearing? Because is she wearing a skirt or is she wearing pants? Again, sorry for my crappy MS Paint drawings, okay? I don't have my drawing tablet out. But like, if you're wearing pants, that's how you're gonna get, you know, the draping around the calves like this. Like if our knees are like here, you know, and then you're sitting or whatever. And then, yeah, our cat person is wearing pants. This is how you're gonna get the like tubing around the legs. If you're wearing a skirt, it's gonna look something more like, you know, we have the skirt. It's gonna like drape. So most of the fabric is gonna sit on the bottom, like the floor. You know, we're gonna get something like this, and then it's gonna drape over the knees, kind of like that, you know, like a little bell. Somehow this person is doing both. Like, there's only one tube around both legs, so these are not pants. This fabric would then fall if it was a skirt, because this is not a pencil skirt. It's a bit like flowy, so this would hang lower. So somehow they drew a pant skirt because there's like line work here. In their line art, they drew a line here, like beneath the thighs, which implies they were intending to draw pants. So then why do the pants become one leg thing here? I'm so confused. Again, so this is one of the things where I asked the question, like, is this person generating images with AI, or are they just making human errors? And again, you ask the question, would a human draw this? Like, they would draw pants but put both legs together in one pant hole? I feel like that just makes no sense, alongside all the other tells I just pointed out to you. The commenters don't believe them at all. A commenter says, why'd you delete that sketchy old drawing from the past? I heard it had about 20 fingers though. Another user posts another photo they've drawn from the past, writing, I want to see a time lapse of this. Note this piece has more weird hair looping. There's hair looping down here in the corner, and here as well. Another person adds, AI common trope, not drawing the hair tips, not coloring them thin lines. And they have a close-up of some chunks of hair. Another person writes, a completely different picture popped up LOL, is the end result of relying on AI, even though I could draw it myself. Somebody else added that they checked out this person's Pixiv, and if you look, they have hashtag AI at the end of their posts, which is interesting. Why would you tag your work as AI? So then they put out this really massive statement. Essentially, they make a whole bunch of points that people didn't like. First off, they write 1, they're going to not post on socials for the time being. 2, they're not going to participate in Comic-Con, which is like a huge convention in Japan. 3, legal measures, and 4, a thanks for people who support them. About point 1, not posting on social media, they write, I sincerely apologize for inadvertently causing misunderstandings that led people to believe my artwork was created using generative AI. And they blame things like mental state and stylistic changes as to why. And that they're going to pause posting art and dedicate time to find an art style that is not mistaken for Gen AI. And that paid commissions are part of how they fund themselves, so that they're still going to do that. And they're considering legal action against people who are defaming them. And they thank people who support them. This, by the way, got 4.7 million views. But yeah, a lot of people don't believe this statement. A user writes, I am saying this out of genuine concern for you, but even half a year ago, the fact that you were drawing hands like this would have tipped off most artists, and then some. So I think it's better to quietly wait for time to pass right now instead of talking about legal action or anything grandiose. These are some older artworks of theirs where you can see the hands. Here we can see more hands. These hands basically were drawn a lot more like hand-drawn looking. Another user writes, it's true. This person has a habit in 2025 of drawing the body smaller than the head. But starting from January 2026, the body's proportions suddenly improve, and they're drawing nothing but angles they've never used before. It's hard to notice at first since they're originally skilled, but this is how they end up falling into the AI trap. So before, after. Another user writes, about the original poster's Insta, the picture that was suspected of being AI because the finger part was glitching got deleted super quick. And now on Instagram, if you tap the bar on the top right of anything suspected of being AI generated, you can also see Meta's judgment. So more likely AI generated than tracing or copying, I think. This is the image. It's now deleted, but it's pretty damning. Somebody posted a screenshot of it. It's of a girl drinking out of a cup. Might I also add the way that they're holding the cup is really weird? Like, they're holding it by the knuckles on one hand and the fingers on the other, kind of like this, which is just like an awkward way to hold cups. I feel like most people hold them like that, you know, with all fingers on it, but it could be an artistic choice. But one hand has 5 fingers with a thumb that is obscured, so 6 total fingers. Again, I've said this before, but real humans have sometimes accidentally, rarely drawn more than one finger, but we've already seen multiple instances of this person fucking up hands, because this is not just one of them. I showed you the other one of the teacup where you can again see what looks like 5 fingers and a thumb that's obscured holding the teacup. The thumb knuckle doesn't start next to the index finger, it starts way below that. It doesn't make any sense to draw hands that way. And to me, this really feels like it hints at the fact that at least this image and some of the other ones I showed you likely use generative AI assistants at the best case scenario, or worst case scenario are fully AI generated. Because again, all of these situations, when you ask the question, would a human draw this? And would a human draw, you know, knuckles holding the cup, thumb joints starting from the finger, hair noodles draping over the shoulders, and 6 fingers on one hand holding above the glasses instead of actually holding the glasses? I really think the answer is no. So at the end of the day, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is AI generated? Do you think it used some AI in the process of creating the artwork? Do you think this person's speed paint is legitimate? I'm curious about your thoughts, and I would love to hear your answers in the comment section down below. Again, don't send hate, don't bully, don't contact any parties involved. And with that, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I'm trying to get my Instagram to 100K. So we're at 94K right now. We're 6K away, so we're working there. Also, check me out on Spotify. I post these episodes there if you would like to catch me there. And I do stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST, or Thursdays at 7:30, where I do a podcast with my friend. So I hope to catch you all there or in another video. Peace.